Good morning, cardiologist here. Today we are going to change the oil on this 2009 SL550 Silver Arrow Special Edition car with a 273 V8 engine. And there's not a lot of videos out there that show how to do this. It's a great DIY job. Let's go ahead and get it done. The first step in this process is to get the car up on ramps. This car has an adjustable height. Make sure that the height is as high as it can be so that these regular Rhino ramps will clear. This did not have any particular problem. So now that the car is up here, we're going to just open up the hood and get started. So this is our 273 engine. We're going to start off by taking off some of the plastic cowling right there. And that reveals just what we need to see, which is our engine oil filter housing, and the torque spec on that is 25 Newton meters. I happen to have a tool that I use for my other Mercedes. This is a, well, I think it's a 76 millimeter, but it goes on like this, and then will allow us to remove that. You can either remove the engine oil by sucking it out through the dipstick, which is how the dealers do it, or you can go underneath and let it drain. I'm old school. I have a preference for going underneath and let it drain. So the next step is to go underneath the car and remove the plastic paneling, the splash shield paneling, using the 8 millimeter bolts. Okay, so I removed two of the lower panels. This is the middle one, and this is the one that's farther back. Both of those were necessary to remove. The one that's in the very front does not need to come out. I recommend using a drip tray. That'll catch whatever you need. Then you put your oil catchment underneath. Now, I'm going to crawl under here and show you just where this drain plug is. Okay, so this is the midpoint of the car. It's along the same axis as the wheels. This black thing over here is the oil pan tray, and this bolt right here is a 13 millimeter bolt that we're going to have to take out in order to drain the oil. You see there's a copper washer, and that gets replaced. Before I unscrew the drain bolt on the oil pan, I always like to take off the oil cap. That way air can come in to replace the oil that's draining. Okay, so there's the wrench on the oil drain pan. We're going to crack this off. And it's very important that when this is put on, that it's done correctly. I can tell you right now that whoever did this before me, which by the way was the dealer, did not put this on at the correct 30 Newton meters. It's tightened too much. That's what the dealers do. So let me use two hands to get this off. Okay, so I got that cracked off, and now it's just hand tight, and I'll use this to loosen it up, and then a whole bunch of hot oil is going to come flying out. So I'm going to put this down so that I don't get burned and scalded, because it's hard to film and do this all at the same time. Well, there comes the oil. Managed to catch that without too much of a mess. This is why we like the drip pan underneath it. At first it really comes flying out, and then after a while it slows down. So we're going to let that do its thing. Always be patient with this, because the last drop that comes out is always the dirtiest drop. So we'll let this drain. I'm going to go up top and remove the oil filter next. Okay, the next step is to take our oil tool right on there. This goes on with a 22 socket, and we just take this off. Until it's hand tight. Tap, tap. And out comes the oil. There she is. We'll be removing this. The new kit includes new O-rings. After I throw away the cartridge, which is in my bag of junk, I like to clean all this up on the inside with a paper towel, shop towels, and then we'll go after the O-rings. I like to use only Mercedes-Benz filters for the 273 engine. The part number, as you can see, is 000-180-2609, and this is going to come with all the correct O-rings. Now the truth of the matter is that this filter is just made by MAN. If you got a MAN filter, it would be absolutely identical, and there's no problem with using that. There are other German brands that are acceptable, but these are fairly cheap things, and I greatly prefer to go with official Mercedes-Benz or MAN. And of course, as you can see, as soon as you open this up, who is that made by? It is a MAN filter. And if you took a MAN filter and lined it up with the Mercedes filter, the only difference is going to be that star. And I don't know that you really need to pay $10 extra for that star. But on a car that had a sticker price of about $120,000, yeah, what the hell, I'll do it. Comes with a variety of O-rings, some of them used, some of them not. It's because this filter cartridge will go in a variety of different versions of this engine, and different O-rings will be needed for different versions. So we just have to make sure that we're using the right ones. To take off my O-rings, I like to use this pick tool, this orange pick tool, and I'll just get underneath and be able to glide them off that way. But I'll need two hands to do it. What I do is I take one off, put on its exact replacement, and then just go straight down the line. That way I'll know I've got it right. Okay, so it turns out that for this application I just needed to remove 3 O-rings. The big one, these 2 medium ones, and the new ones are already on. That's the big one, and then a medium one here and a medium one here. That leaves these 2 little guys behind. Those aren't used in this particular application, but I'll save them for just general parts. I always am doing one project or the other. Next, I take the filter cartridge, place it straight down, straight over, all the way in. And I don't think it matters which way you do it, but I like to have it so that the Mercedes sign is outward, so that the next person who looks at what I've done and changes the oil on this car is going to realize that somebody used the right filter in here. Alright, so now we take this whole prepared cartridge and we put it in. Whenever you're screwing something in, especially to aluminum, okay, you always start by hand threading it. That way you know it's not cross-threaded. When you're very confident that you are in the threads, nothing's cross-threaded, only then can you take a tool to it. Now this is a torque of 25 Newton meters, so I'm going to go get my torque wrench, set it up, and we'll torque it down. Okay, so here comes our tool. Here comes my torque wrench set to 25 Newton meters. And we're just going to slowly tighten this thing up, nice and easy, until we hit 25. Tightening now. There it is. Okay, and that's it. So now that's done. Now the whole time that was going on, we're still dripping a teeny tiny bit of oil, as I think you can see, and that's good. Let her drip. The last bit is always the dirtiest bit. So I don't really rush it, but I guess by now most of it is gone and enough of it's gone. So what I'm going to do is wipe everything off. I'm going to make sure that I put a new copper crush washer on the 13mm bolt, and I'm going to make sure that this gets torqued down to specification, which is 30 Newton meters. The dealers, there's a lot of spin and there's not always a lot of substance. The places are pretty, they're clean, they give the illusion of providing exceptionally high-tech service. The reality is that they just have kids in there, and everybody's just a human being, and not everyone is all that compulsive. And I have discovered that even when I take things to official service centers, torque specs are not always followed. People just tighten things until they think it's good and tight, and they tend to err on the side of over-tightening it. And with all the aluminum parts in modern cars, that leads to trouble and stripping. So I'm always very careful to do it the way it should be done, which is why I prefer to do things myself. Alright, so here's the drain bolt. I've cleaned this up. This is the old copper washer, and this was over-tightened, and you can even see how it was over-tightened because it's really badly deformed. But we knew it was over-tightened because I needed 2 hands or a breaker bar just to get that loose, and it should have been at 30 Newton meters. So this is my new one. And then you say, well, how do you know what to get? I tell you what, I go onto these sites like, well, of course I'm not promoting any of these sites, but there are numerous such sites like AutoHouse AZ, FCP Euro, RM European, Pelican Parts, all kinds of sites like this. And you can just say that you need a gasket, a copper gasket for a drain plug. And they're dirt cheap, and they sell them to you in packs of 10, so I bought them. This is what I got. I don't know that this is even a brand, but BE70Q3, who the heck knows? But they're very, very cheap, and I think the best thing to do is that when you're making an order online for other things, just get yourself a pack of 10. You're good for 10 oil changes. That's over 100,000 miles, so that'll probably last you the life of most cars, with the exception of me, where I keep my cars for crazy amounts of time. But, well, that's just me. Okay, let's put this thing back on. Okay, so of course I followed my own advice and I screwed this in manually to make sure that it's good, because you don't want to cross-thread aluminum things. That'll really mess you up in a big way. And now I got my torque wrench on here, and we're just going to go ahead and torque this down. I'll probably have to move this out of the way, but there shouldn't be any more oil dripping because I've cleaned it all up. So now, yeah, I'll probably need 2 hands. Just give me a moment. Okay, so there's my torque wrench on the bolt, and the slack is taken up. And now all we need to do is to come down until we get a click. There it is. And that's 30, and you don't need more than that. And now the next person along is not going to have this problem. Okay, so that takes care of that. The next thing we're going to do is just remove the drainage pan from underneath, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the plastic panels back on. Okay, so now the panels are back underneath the car. Oil filter is in and torqued. Of course, I leave this open to indicate that the engine has no oil. Now, this is the 273 engine, the 8-cylinder version, which was based off the 6-cylinder 272. This takes 8.5, is it quarts or liters? Probably liters of engine oil. But that's if it's completely empty, and you know it's never empty. So it'll probably take somewhere between 7 or 8. Now, this brings up the topic of oil. So let me get my oil and we'll talk about it. Alright, so first of all, stamped right on the Mercedes, it says Mercedes recommends Mobil 1. You know, that's 50% because it's good stuff and 50% because they made a deal with Mobil 1. By no means is it the only oil that's appropriate. Mercedes has specifications. The specification for this particular car is 229.5. So what you need to do is get an oil that clearly has Mercedes-Benz specification 229.5. This is what I've elected to use. This is Mobil 1 European car 0.0W40. And if you look back here, right here at Mercedes, MB approval 229.3 and MB approval 229.5. That's what this car needs. Now, there is a website called Bevo, B-E-V-O, and that will give you a list of all the oils that are currently for sale around the world that meet any given specification for Mercedes. You don't have to use Mobil 1. You can use all kinds of stuff. Lubermoly is excellent. There's all kinds. I just went with this because Mobil 1 is clearly stamped as being preferred. I've always had great success with Mobil 1 in my car. I'm in the South, so 0W40 is the right weight for this car and for my uses. This car certainly never will see temperatures below 0. So we're going to use this. I got a 5-quart jug at Walmart for 25 bucks, and on a previous engine oil change I had about 3 left over. So that's perfect. That should do it for me. Okay, so I started by putting in 7. And then what I'm going to do is not start the engine. I'm just going to push it off these ramps to put it onto a flat surface, let things equilibrate, measure the oil level, and then we can get the level adjusted correctly. I'm kind of a stickler about not starting the engine when it's in this angled position. I prefer it to be level, just in case the bearings are not covered. Just be real compulsive. Okay, so I pushed the car off the ramps, put the ramps away, and now let this equilibrate in a fairly level position. I'll check the engine oil level, we'll top it off, and we'll be good. It's really nice to work with a car that has an engine oil dipstick. My other Mercedes doesn't, and it's a real pain in the backside. So I let it sit here. I took this out, and you know what? It's spot on. So with just 7, I don't know if we're going to be able to see this well with the camera. Let's see. But you'll have to take my word for it that it is spot on. So I'll run it for a while and then I'll check it again. Okay, so here's the official instructions on how to reset the service indicator light on the Model 230 as of model year 2008. They give these switches the most impossible names and numbers. So this is what they call them. And there's no particular point in arguing with it. That's what they call it. Call one button by a 6-character name. Whatever. Okay, so now that we see what the buttons are called, we go down. Okay, we go down and we see what to do. Step number 1, close trunk lid, engine hood, and doors. Turn transmitter key to position 1. We will. We keep pressing this button S110, S3 repeatedly until the kilometer reading is shown in the multifunction display. So let's see, S110, S3 is this one, that one over here. Fine. Press the scroll forward button and back button, S110, S1, until the service is shown. So S110, S1 is this guy. That's the up arrow, I guess. Okay. Keep brightness control for instrument illumination and reset knob pressed for 5 seconds. So once we're in that, we hold that button down for 5 seconds, and this is what's going to appear. Okay. Good. We use 229.5. Then we press the brightness control for 3 seconds, and it says that it's been reset, and then we turn the key off. Alright, let's see if that works. Alright, so here I am. I've got the key. 1 click, 2 clicks. Until you reach, you press the up arrow until you reach service. Then you press this button for 5 full seconds. Okay? To reset, press reset button for 3 seconds. Service interval has been reset. Okay, that should do it. Turn it off. All right, so I think we should be good. Let me start it up and see what this looks like. Car starts. Good, no service light. I have no warning lights. This is terrific. So I'll drive it around a little bit, then later on today I'll check the engine oil level. We want to make sure that the oil level stays good. Might need to be topped off a touch, and that should do it. So there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you change the oil. That whole job would cost, let's say, $50 in oil from Walmart, maybe $15 for the filter, so that's $65. Got to get one of those little crush washers. So that's about it. Now I'll go get rid of my old oil, and I know that everything's been done correctly. There you go. Thank you for watching another cardiology job.